Forget what you learned in school. Never mind what your parents told you, and disregard what your friends say. From now on, the only people you need to listen to are these guys. For the next several minutes, they'll take you on a journey through the political jungle. And when your journey is over and you're safe at home, they promise you'll be stronger, smarter, and just plain better. So buckle up, hang on to your ears, because your journey starts now.
Hey, Nate.
Hey, Brian.
Is the Jeep full of gas for our journey?
The Jeep is full of gas.
Exactly. And so am I.
I've always wanted a Jeep.
I did too. You know, I drove one the other day. It was the nice high-end one. Ooh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you
going to buy it?
I could dig it. Nah, it was the, the push-button start and leather seats, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, too good for you.
Way, way, way too good.
Yep.
Well, we want to welcome to you.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk.
Yeah.
Me
too. Me too.
You know, you dock my pay every time I screw up, so it's
true.
Not good. We want to welcome you to another episode of At Odds for another enjoyable journey through the political jungle with our gassed-up Jeep. With your guides, Nate and Brian, where we are broadcasting from the back room of the Cock and Bull pub and studio in a small northern village. In what country, Nate?
Comoros today.
Comoros. Really, Comoros.
Comoros.
Where is Comoros located?
Earth.
I'm dubious.
And it may be pronouncing it wrong. The locals here are a bit hard to understand.
Yeah, they are. I noticed that.
I don't know what they're saying.
They're not
actually
speaking English.
No,
I know
not.
that.
And that doesn't make any sense to me.
They have really angry looks on their faces, and they're throwing things at us.
We are Americans, so they should be speaking English. I mean,
yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah, that is the world language.
Uh-huh.
Comoros.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we want to say that finally we hope to have our guest Rick Ector. From the Big D, Detroit metro area.
Detroit, Michigan, Comoros.
We're gonna talk about gun control and more, so we don't want you to go away. We can tell you a little bit about Rick. He's going to call in about 15 minutes, we hope, if everything goes well. Rick is an NRA-certified firearms instructor, as we said, in the Detroit area. He's trained thousands of people, both men and women, and others, I'm assuming, on how to use a firearm for self-defense. He is the owner of Rick's Firearm Training Academy in Detroit. His goal is to train every law-abiding person in the Detroit area because he feels strongly that firearms in the right hands make us all safer. Right, Nate? I agree.
Yeah, and I completely agree with him. And if he could realize that goal of arming
Detroit,
that
would be good.
Oh, it'd be great for that city.
It would be a new, shining beacon. Rick is a strong defender of the Second Amendment and an author of a book, How to Get a Michigan Concealed Pistol License. He has a blog called Legally Armed in Detroit, and he is the Detroit area correspondent for the Urban Shooter podcast with my friend Ken Blanchard, I wish I could say his name,
wow,
who spoke at the Second Amendment March in Washington, D.C. for us. Rick has a degree in industrial engineering from Wayne State. He's a veteran of the United States Air Force. And for more information, you can go to his website, www.detroitccw.com.
Yeah, and he'll definitely tell us a little more about all that, and we'll get to know him a little bit as the show goes on. And he has a lot of good information, a lot of good ideas to share. So I'm really looking forward to that call.
I also want to say that we need to announce really quickly for those in Michigan who are familiar with the Capital Area District Library versus Michigan Open Carry Incorporated. Michigan Open Carry had won a appeals decision with the Court of Appeals in Michigan that said that authorities are indeed a local unit of government and cannot regulate firearms, which is a win for all people who carry firearms for personal protection. The CADL, which is the acronym CADL, has appealed to the Michigan Supreme Court. And so
MOC, they would.
Yeah, we knew they would too. And they've spent almost $100,000 in taxpayers' dollars fighting this, so you should all be enraged at that. But anyways, we have to respond to their appeal, and that costs money. So if you go to michiganopencarry.org, they have a Scales of Justice logo. And if you click on that, you can make a donation to our legal fund to help pay our attorneys, who are very, very good, and doing it, a little bit cheaper than they normally would because they're strong Second Amendment supporters. If you could donate $20, $50, $100 to help the cause, we'd appreciate it. What? You're smiling.
Yeah, I just thinking about making my donation.
Yeah, you haven't yet. I've noticed that.
Oh, I have, just not to you.
Oh, okay. Well, excellent.
I don't trust you. I would suggest going through channels other than Brian.
Yeah, don't give it to me because, I'm not good with cash.
Well, he's out of whiskey.
I'm out of whiskey.
That's a good reason not to give him money.
And I also want to announce again that the Second Amendment March organization is, along with several other Michigan organizations, organizing a march and rally at the Michigan State Capitol in Lansing on March 20th. You can go to their website, Second Amendment March, and get more information and sign up as a volunteer, or you can make a donation because it will cost us a lot of money for entertainment, sound systems, porta potties, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, these sort of things aren't cheap to put on, and that's on top of all the paperwork and bureaucracy that you have to go through
exactly
to peaceably assemble in front of the Capitol. I don't quite understand that whole point.
Well,
but there's a lot of paperwork to go through there.
I will say that the state capitol in Michigan is a lot easier to deal with than some of the other states that I've dealt with when I was helping to organize the Second Amendment March in Washington, D.C. I mean, some of them you couldn't have firearms. You had to get all kinds of permits. You could only assemble on certain days at certain times in certain areas. They made it so difficult to express your First Amendment right at their state capitals. It was laughable. Michigan, compared to them, a piece of cake. And I don't even want to get into talking about all of the crap we had to do in D.C.
D.C., yeah.
Going through the Park Service, all kinds of retainers and insurance and submitting paperwork and maps. And you had to have so many restrooms and so many paramedics. And it was just incredible, the logistics involved in a D.C. rally. So
let's take a quick call here. Got a call on line one here. Thanks for calling At Odds. What's on your mind?
I was calling about the program. This is George Moss calling.
Oh, hey, George. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from you. And just listened to your program this evening for the first time.
Thank you.
And I am a Second Amendment advocate as well. And I just like the idea of people being out there talking about the Second Amendment and the need to maintain the right to bear arms in this country.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a very important point. Obviously, Brian and I are both very passionate about it. We got the pleasure to meet you this last weekend, and we talked a bit, and we know that you are for sure. So I want to thank you also for everything you've done.
Exactly, and we want to have you as a guest on one of our shows, upcoming shows.
I look forward to it, and I'm going to be listening to your program from this point forward. And I would love to be a part of the program at some point in the future. So keep me in mind.
Thank you. And listen to the show because we're going to have Rick on. I mentioned Rick to you when we talked. He's a good person to get a hold of, and he might want to do something with you and you with him. So
okay, I'm going to stay tuned. I listen to it now, so I'll be listening to the program for the next hour.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Is it just 1 hour show or is it 3 hours?
We're flexible. We can go up to 3 hours, so it's whenever you get tired of us, you can sign off. But we try to go on. We try to go an hour, but sometimes.
Okay, I look forward to it. I'm listening to you right now.
Yeah, if it goes longer, we have that option. So we're flexible.
Okay, I'll stay tuned.
All right,
thanks,
very
sir.
good, George. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, George is a college professor and a Second Amendment supporter. He's also very libertarian in his views, and seems like he's a decent guy. And he has a show on Flint Talk Radio.
Yeah, he does.
So
I believe it's called What's Going On.
What's Going On?
He was I believe he was doing a 5-part series or something with Flint Talk Radio. I'm not sure of the details. I don't want to step on his feet or anything, but very good information. He's been posting on Facebook his ideas for fixing the current state of the country.
Yeah.
So look him up on Facebook. We'll have him on the show, and we'll definitely get some more information from him then.
Exactly.
Real quick before Rick calls in, no doubt you've heard about the Chris Kyle, the American sniper. He was shot at a gun range while he was helping
America's most dangerous and proficient
sniper. He had like 160 confirmed kills or
Yeah.
something, and amazing guy, great American.
A SEAL, I think, a
Navy SEAL. Yep, he was killed by a guy who
had some
I guess
issues.
was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which all veterans are, it seems like nowadays, and I want to get into that a little later. But Ron Paul, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not a huge Ron Paul fan. I have things in common with Ron Paul, and I have a lot of things that I disagree with Ron Paul.
I think we all do with each other anyways.
Yeah, sure. And, just bringing this up will probably make his fan base a little angry, but he tweeted the other day, or yesterday, I think it was, Chris Kyle's death seems to confirm that he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Treating PTSD at a firing range doesn't make sense. There's a couple things I wanted to mention about that.
Wow.
First, that is so callous and so cold to come out, and he's obviously quoting from the Bible. He came out and kind of clarified this, saying, well, an unjust war and an illegal war.
He was trying to make a
it'll have
political statement
repercussions
on military, I think.
Using the death of the best sniper ever.
Right.
Somebody who's saved
unknown
people,
people,
Americans with all of the work he did, and after service, he's helping troops that are
Veterans.
coming back, helping them get transition back into normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Ron Paul trying to use it for a political statement, and Chris Kyle didn't make the decisions to go to war. He was ordered. He served the country honorably.
Wounded 3 times, by the way.
And he wasn't treating PTSD at the range. He was helping a guy who
fundraising, I'm sure. So, wasn't it?
What's that?
Was it a fundraiser or something? Or
no? Him and his friend, I think, went out to help the guy.
Okay.
He did was he took troops that came back. He would take them to the shooting range because that's what these people do. The Marines and the SEALs. I mean, they go to the range and it calms them down and they can talk about things and that's what he was doing. He was using his own time to help a great American, and Ron Paul admittedly is not the only one that's come out and said this, and I don't think he had ill intentions. He's like 104 years old now. So, I mean, who knows, what's really in his head. Maybe he's bitter because he's not a good Republican anymore.
Okay.
I really don't know what the deal is. I just saw it, and it really didn't make me very happy, and it confirmed what I thought about him. He's obviously, I don't know.
A little out there, you're thinking?
He's way out there. He's cuckoo. Definitely cuckoo. I wanted to get that off my chest a little bit when we had some time here, so...
all right.
It's off.
Well, I wanted to mention also that in regards to the assault weapons ban and other proposed gun control legislation that will probably be appearing in the U.S. Capitol, that the National Association of Sheriffs came out with a public letter saying that they won't enforce unconstitutional laws, that they are defenders of the Second Amendment. And I think that's a pretty bold statement to say, because we often hear the left saying, well, law enforcement supports all our gun controls. They want all the guns off the street.
Oh, constantly. The president was out in Minnesota saying the same, talking to police in Minnesota, saying all of these police officers support stricter gun laws, and they're the ones that know the best.
Right.
They are police officers.
It's the lies and the crap. The thing is, we have a call?
We do have a call. I suspect this is Rick.
Okay.
Thank you for calling At Odds.
Hi, Rick Ector from Detroit. How you guys doing today?
Rick, we're doing great. How are you?
Hey, great, man. I'm doing fine.
Thanks for calling.
Yes, thank you.
Have you been listening to the show so you kind of know, or did you just call now?
I just called in to participate. I am scheduled to be a guest of the show.
Okay.
I was calling in to discuss some of the things that Brian shared with me that are of interest with regards to at least a couple of the defensive gun use stories that have been in the news.
Exactly.
Gun rights, where we're at, and what the politicians are trying to do with regards to gun control.
Well, how long do we have? Do we have a few minutes?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Sure.
You said, okay. Well, this is Brian, and the other person is Nate. Pay no attention to Nate. And and really, we just kind of want to pick your brain. You know, we're facing another surge in trying to limit our Second Amendment rights on the federal government. Many states are trying to get on that bandwagon. We know about New York and such. One of the things I proposed and written articles about is, allowing firearms and gun-free zones, including schools. And here we have a story, and you can go ahead and talk about that story in Detroit at a high school.
Right. There were actually a lot of people have focused on the one story at the high school, but actually this past Friday, there were actually two defensive gun use stories that actually occurred within the city of Detroit. Real briefly, the first story was a case of a person at a bus stop at a fairly busy intersection in the city of Detroit, Greenfield and Grand River. A mugging was announced, and that person who was the would-be victim pulled out a firearm and defended that person's life. So, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the bad guy didn't make it. The story that a lot of other people have been focusing on was the situation over at Martin Luther King High School in Detroit. From many published reports, a security guard, coach, I believe is what they were calling him, a coach for the girls' basketball team was escorting a couple of teenagers to their car in the parking lot where two, what was reported to be armed teens, announced a robbery. They attacked the 70-year-old coach, who also, later reported that he was a auxiliary police officer with the Detroit Police Department. He was able to free up enough space between himself and the bad guys, and fortunately for him, he was able to get access to his firearm, and he did indeed defend himself and those two young ladies. One of the bad guys died, and I believe the other was hospitalized. And it really feeds into the narrative that we've been talking about here in the state of Michigan, particularly with having guns in our schools to protect our children. And, of course, all of this is flowing out of the unfortunate incident that we witnessed at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. I know myself, I've participated in quite a few debates, both online and on television and on the radio and general media, talking to people out in the public. I'm of the position that we should explore arming specific staff in our schools to protect our children just for these specific cases where some lunatic, some deranged individual decides that for whatever sick reason he wants to attack our children. We had a great opportunity in the state of Michigan right before the Sandy Hook shooting when our state legislature passed and signed off on Senate Bill 59. And what Senate Bill 59 would have done, it would have allowed concealed pistol license holders in the state of Michigan who have went on to take another 8-hour training class and had taken some more extensive training at a gun range to get what's called an exemption that would allow them to carry their firearms concealed on school property. And I think that we missed a golden opportunity to, put some guns in the hands of good guys to increase the likelihood that should something else occur, that we can have a means of defending our kids, because the police in the Newtown, Connecticut incident, it took them a full 10 minutes to get there, and unfortunately there was a lot of loss of life before they got there. But I, like you, just stated a few moments ago, I'm in complete agreement with the idea of abolishing gun-free zones altogether. They serve no specific purpose. Bad guys ignore signs on the walls, and they're going to bring guns in anyway. why not entrust the responsibility of carrying a firearm in a school to people who have jumped through all the hoops and have navigated all the hurdles and have proven themselves to be the cream of the crop of our society. So, yeah, I'm definitely in favor of abolishing gun-free zones.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, guns are not necessarily illegal in Michigan schools right now. There's a couple ways that people can lawfully carry those guns besides being a law enforcement officer.
Right.
Two, one is, that if you have a concealed pistol license, you can open carry, but also in the gun school or in the gun safety law that Michigan passed, the school principal or the board can allow people to carry firearms within their school districts, so they can opt into that if they want. They're not hamstrung by not allowing. They can allow people in like parents and staff to carry guns in schools now. And, there's an argument that I've heard floated in the gun community that if we just leave it up to the respective districts, the respective boards, to opt into any legislation that authorizes them to designate who can carry on school property. A buddy of mine from Minnesota, it's like, Rick, I'm telling you how it's going to happen. What's going to happen, they're going to have the ability to opt in, but nobody is actually going to do it, not unless they're in some really unique circumstance like the Harold, Texas school district in Texas, where they were, from what I heard, from published accounts, 20 minutes away from the nearest law enforcement post. So, right. Well, I was just going to say that there are some schools in Michigan that do allow some staff to carry firearms. I'm aware of some in the state. My point was that the onus is on the schools now. They can't say, "Oh, we would like to do something, but the law says that people can't carry here." I want the public to realize that no, they can make a decision, and they are consciously not allowing law-abiding citizens to carry guns in there to protect the children.
It's as easy as a vote by the school board.
Right.
I mean, really, it could be done in one school board meeting.
I would be in agreement. I'm a big fan of preemption, and that's one of the beautiful things that we have coded in law here in Michigan, man. It's like, okay, the state has designated itself as the only level of government in this state to set firearms laws. I'm quite comfortable with the state preempting the school boards. I would like the state to say, hey,
I would too.
Let teachers, if they wish to do so, who have gotten all the training, they got a concealed pistol license, they've taken the extra class to allow them at their option and not be able to suffer any repercussions for consciously choosing to do so.
Well, what
we find, at least in my experiences, man, is that there are teachers that I've talked to that really would love to have the opportunity to carry concealed on school, on the job, to protect those kids if something was to happen. And they fear retaliation. They fear that they might be unfairly labeled, that they might, suffer some negative consequence. So I would like to just preempt the whole school boards out of it altogether, my personal opinion.
Well, right. There's a couple of things that we can address there, and one is to have a separate law like 59 that allows it. The other thing is, are you familiar with the Capital Area District Library and the Court of Appeals with Michigan?
Yes. I heard recently that they're actually going to appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. So we're in a position where we're looking for interested individuals to support us and to make donations to the organization, Michigan Open Carry Inc., so that we can fight this at the Supreme Court level. And we've had some people make some donations already, but we obviously need more. I think an estimate I heard was something on the order of like maybe 25,000. So whatever we can get, we need to raise it.
If we go to that, we've already discussed that. But the other thing I want to say is the Court of Appeals actually said in their decision that schools are local units of government, and they may be preempted now. A lot of people aren't discussing that. But I think, are we getting a call or no? We lost a call?
I believe we lost it, yeah.
Okay. We might have people call in and ask questions and stuff, Rick, so we might hang in there with us. But
not a problem.
Yeah, but so there might be some already, court decision on that, and not many people are talking about that, but we'll see. But I agree. You know, if we could make a law saying, you know, you can carry in there with extra training or without, whatever. I know that there's been some tweaking done to introduce a new bill along Senate Bill 59. So we'll see what they come up with. Do we have a call?
Yeah, and there's been some other positive legislation that I haven't had the chance to read yet, but I basically have gotten a summary as to what we're trying to do now.
Right.
I believe I saw a bill that's going to address being able to carry guns on the job in the parking lot of employers. And what I've been sucking at it, daily for years now, and you're going to suffer, the slings, the slights, and the rude things that people have to say. But our cause is righteous and it's just, and I'm willing to fight that battle every day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a very important point. I mean, when you get in the public eye and when you're out promoting things that aren't popular, or at least not popular in the mainstream media and with, the loudest voices in Washington, it seems, it's very important that you do have the thick skin and you can take some of the criticism because you're going to get it. And I've noticed some of these people on the left, they'll come at you hard and they will try to destroy you.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not literally physically destroy you. Sometimes they will, but they'll try to ruin your life. I mean, I've seen that. So,
and here's the thing: a lot of people think that because the mainstream media seems to be focusing on the anti-argument, that they tend to take that particular position. There are many people that support us and just can't, for whatever reason, come out and say, "Hey, I'm pro Second Amendment. Leave our guns alone." There are more people that are supporting us than we realize and than we know.
Yeah,
I recall, just the other day, I was trying to find a teacher who was pro-gun and who was willing to state that he would be willing to carry a gun in a school if state law and the school district would allow it, man. And I know quite a few teachers who carry and have licenses, but I couldn't find one single one to do it. But here's the thing. I'm not faulting them for it. It's just the way that our system is set up. They could really suffer some serious repercussions and consequences behind showing that they're a Second Amendment supporter. So, we got to fight the fight for those folks who are vocal and for those who support us but can't necessarily raise their hand and say, "I'm with you."
Right. Well, they can do it with dollars, and that helps too. I mean, they can donate, and they can write articles under pseudonyms. They can write letters to the editor. There's things they can do anonymously that helps the cause.
And you're absolutely right. I remember I was at the NRA convention this past April of last year in St. Louis, and when I was interviewed by Cam Edwards on his show, he was telling me, and I agree with the statement he made. He said, you know what, we need more activists and less gunnies. That's not a slight to the people that are gunnies who are really into gun culture and being aficionado with firearms, but we need more people to be more active. We need people to write letters to the editor. We need people who, when we need you to call your state and your local representatives and let your voice be heard. We need people to write editorials to the newspapers. We need people to come to events like rallies. You know, there's a big rally that we're gearing up for in March with MCargo, NGO, and MOC while the state legislature is in session. You know, I realize some people can't take off work, but if you can do any of those things, I mean, do them. Join organizations. Join a national organization. It doesn't have to be the NRA. It could be the GOA. It could be the Second Amendment Foundation. It could be Concealed Carry, RKBA. I mean, join some state-level organizations. I mean, there's plenty to do, and we need people to get involved. And, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the Detroit issue, we know that the Detroit Police Department has cutbacks, and they've had real issues with funding and everything else. They've admitted that, you know, they're having slow response times. It seems like we're getting a lot more people now that are taking the responsibility of their own protection into their own hands, and we're getting lots of good stories coming out of Detroit, like we've talked about earlier, where the ordinary citizen is starting to fight back. I think that's a good thing.
And, you know, it's a very good thing, and I want it to continue. You know, there is still some people who are not informed that, you know, first and foremost, there's no legal duty that exists for the police to prevent you from being a crime victim.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't realize that.
And, you know, when we see people get victimized over and over again, particularly here in Detroit, you know, there comes a tipping point for each individual who has been on the fence as to whether they want to take a more active role in their protection. And you know what? Every time we have a major incident, you know, I can actually tell that something happened without watching, you know, TV or being online in social media like Facebook, because my phone starts ringing.
Oh,
you know, if someone got robbed, or like the woman whose body turned up in an abandoned, burnt-out house today. I mean, if something happens, people respond and people call. And, yeah, we had a banner night Friday night, 2 defensive shootings. I believe it was 3 bad guys got shot, 2 bad guys killed, 1 hospitalized. Those things let people know that this isn't outside the realm of their possibility. You know, a lot of anti-gun folks like to suggest that you need to be some SWAT commando, you know, law enforcement person, 30 years on the job to be able to effectively use a gun to defend yourself.
Right.
And nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, you deal with this every day when you teach people how to use a firearm and how to use be, you know, protective.
And you know what? And I continue to amaze people, you know, with every class that I teach, every person who satisfies their educational and shooting requirements. You know, a lot of people will say, you know what? I actually enjoyed it. I feel truly informed. I didn't know that there was so much to learn about this. I see and hear things that I had never heard before. It's a wonder why I haven't done it before. And for a lot of people, it's fear. You know, some people fear things that they don't know and things that they don't understand. And for some people, it's until that fear of being a crime victim overrides their fear of addressing their ignorance that they decide to act. And in my case, it took me to get robbed. For some other people, it might take a neighbor to get robbed. But whatever that person's tipping point is, they're going to get there. And when they get there, we get the results where people are coming back, you know. And I love this. And it'll send a message to the bad guys out in the street who are committing these heinous and atrocious acts that maybe they should reconsider their vocation.
Yeah, and I don't think Pierce Morgan has a tipping point like you're talking about, but he went shooting. He went down to Texas and went shooting with Ted Nugent recently, and he said it was his first time, he claims. He said it was exciting.
Yeah.
He got his adrenaline going. So, I mean,
well, I was going to say, yeah.
Even Pierce Morgan likes it.
Yeah, one of the best ways to get people to enjoy guns is to take them out shooting.
Yeah, and I've done it personally with people who are anti-gun, and I took them shooting, and it changed their mind about it.
Yeah, you have friends like that were that way.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, Rick, no doubt.
That's another.
Go ahead.
Well,
go ahead, Rick.
Oh, no. I'm listening. All I was going to say is, and that's another thing that we can do. I listed all those things that folks can do. Take the neighbor shooting, go to the gun range.
Yeah.
A coworker.
Be willing to teach and show.
Yeah, a coworker, a family member.
Anybody, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? The thing that really surprises me most is there's so much misinformation and wives' tales and things about guns and personal protection that simply isn't true, and folks just believe them.
You mean like unloaded guns can shoot you, and that if you have a collapsible stock, it makes your gun fully automatic? You mean those things?
Right. All those things and more. And every time I talk to someone and they tell me, you don't need a fully automatic firearm to defend your home, or you don't need more than 10 rounds of ammunition in a handgun. It's what Pastor Ken Blanchard from the Black Man with a Gun Urban Shooter podcast wrote last week on his blog.
Yeah.
For many of us who are pro-gun, we reach that special moment sometimes when we talk to people who are uninformed or misinformed. And that moment is when someone says something out of ignorance. And what we, as the pro-gun side who are informed, we have a decision. We have a decision as to whether to gently respond and provide some information that could give them something to think about, or we can just chalk it up and just walk away and smirk, And I would like to urge those of us who ardently believe in the right to self-defense and the Second Amendment to actually take a breath, and count to 3 and calmly engage folks and give them some information that may prove helpful to them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's not always easy, but that's a great point. You've no doubt heard about Chris Kyle. He was a great American sniper, one of the best we've ever had, if not the best. He was murdered, him and his buddy, at a gun range by a man another veteran who supposedly was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
I have my opinions. I was wondering how you think. It's already starting to be spun, but what do you think we'll see from the anti-gun crowd with this? I mean, it was at a shooting range where, we claim that shootings don't happen. It was a veteran with a supposed mental disorder, and it was an Army veteran who had all sorts of training with firearms. So where do you think that's going to go?
And there's a certain number of people who, unfortunately go to a gun range and kill themselves. I mean, it's statistically not significant, but I mean, it does make headlines. There's one gun range here that's been identified as a target of discussion here in Royal Oak, just outside of Detroit. They've had a few shootings over the last couple of years, and I think this one particular city council person is trying to ride the wave of these anti-gun sentiment that's capturing the headlines and get her 5 minutes of fame and have a hearing as to what can be done. There are some things that can be done, but by and large, it's really a mental health issue, and we got to somehow find a way to address that. One of the biggest problems that I'm having with these anti-gun folks is that they believe that everything that ails our society can be fixed with another rule or another law about guns.
Isn't that the truth?
I mean, are we going to start requiring that you need to be a qualified mental health professional at a gun range? One suggestion I heard this one lady bring up was that the people at the gun ranges should be required to personally know everyone that they rent a handgun.
Oh, that's
it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Or how about give them a mental sobriety test and have them fill out an 800-page questionnaire and then have a psychiatrist analyze it or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and we do have changes, that the president would like to make, and with Obamacare and whatnot. And I mean, I don't think we're too far off having doctors asking their patients, if they own guns.
Well, you know what? There's a danger in there, and I want to make sure that we proceed slowly and not, just blindly let the government do whatever it wants to do on the mental health question, because you know what? It could really set us up for a situation where the American Medical Association could say that, and I'm stretching, just being hypothetical and theoretical here.
Maybe
that if you're the type of person who owns a gun, you obviously have some form of mental illness.
Right. I mean,
and then because you're mentally ill, now you can't own a firearm, and I don't want to go there either.
That's a circular logic, and it's wrong.
I don't think you're stretching it too much, and we are seeing, like I kind of brought up earlier, that the veterans are coming back from war. They've been fighting for 10 years. They come back and they see a doctor at the VA, and he says, fill out this paperwork. Do you own guns? And, here, take these pills just for you to get these benefits. Tell me you have post-traumatic stress, and we'll mark it down, and don't worry, you'll be fine.
Slam, bam, thank you, man.
And then that is and will be used
ATF
to take
is busted in your
and,
door, taking your guns away.
Yeah, and so the healthcare system definitely will be used, even more than it already is, will be used to try to push some of these agendas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but let's look at some of the causes. I mean, some of these guys, and you know what, God bless them. I love our men who fight for our freedom overseas and outside of our country. But I really think our government is asking a little too much of our patriots with these numerous tours of duty and combat that we're asking them to perform. I really think there needs to be a hard limit as to how much combat someone should see.
Yeah, and maybe some studies need to be done in that regard as well, especially in a police action where it's not like an all-out world war when you need every man on the front and it was hard to rotate you out. It seems like in today's world they could rotate your tour of duty and
what are we doing in Afghanistan right now? Anyway?
Right. I mean, that's the other issue.
What are we there for? I don't know. And that's a problem, but yeah, I mean, we have guys that are, they've been fighting for 10 years, and it's just,
some volunteer for it. They volunteer for several tours, and
of course they do, course they do. But when they come back, they need to be, treated with respect and treated appropriately, and not handled like we did when men came back from Vietnam. I mean, and it's kind of turning into that. It's they're the bad guys, and they're the ones going crazy, and they can't own guns. I mean, my big thing with trying to disarm the veterans they're the ones that are trained. Right. They're the ones that understand why they were in service to defend the Constitution, and they would probably.
And then we're disarming them. Yes,
exactly.
Well, and it's intentional.
Exactly right.
Because
it's intentional.
Who do you want to disarm first? The grandmas and grandpas or the veterans? Come on now.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious. Yeah.
But, I truly appreciate the fact that even though, despite the best interests of mainstream media to not look at the laws the way we do. I mean, when you really look at it, man, I'm really impressed with the quilt, the patchwork, the network of gun rights guys like your show, other shows and blogs and YouTube channels. We're getting the word out, man. And social media, we're actually using it, and we're using it to our advantage. And you know what? Maybe we don't necessarily need to be all in the mainstream media, just as long as we can stay informed with ourselves and encourage people to be more politically active.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And things are shifting away from the mainstream media, I think, but they are still loud. And that's the issue.
Yeah, and they got a lot of money, and that a lot of support by a lot of people with money. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
they have a lot of money, and they make a lot of noise. They do a lot of saber rattling and empty garbage cans. But at the end of the day, it's mere posturing. It's illogical conclusions, shaky premises, and a lot of raw emotion.
Exactly.
I looked at when the president went out and he signed his 23 executive orders. He's surrounded by children. I mean, it's almost as if they're trying to subliminally say that, law-abiding gun owners love the right to not only, keep and bear firearms, that somehow, that we don't feel the pain that those parents felt when those children were slaughtered, And that's the little, mind games they play. Like with the, the ICE part of Customs Department Homeland Security. They bought 7,000 select fire AR-15s, They call those fully automatic firearms. They call those PDWs, personal defense weapons. But, the guns that we want to carry, semi-automatic, one trigger pull, one discharge, oh, man, those are assault weapons. We need to get more involved and to get more vocal because the antis, man, they're playing with language and are intentionally misleading people.
Yeah, I just want the same personal arms that the military and the police have. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
I don't think it's unreasonable either.
We I've mentioned on other shows that we're at the greatest threat of tyranny than we've ever been because at least in 1780s, the average citizen had the same exact weapon as the soldier. And they were equal, but now it's getting to the point where the U.S. military, with their standing army, and the police are becoming so much more powerful. They will monopolize the balance of force, and all I want is to be equal with them, and I think that's very reasonable.
And it's reasonable, and it's like NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre said at the hearings. He said, we law-abiding gun owners refuse to accept responsibility for the actions of criminals.
Right.
And you know what? I support that statement 100%. I could care less what a bad guy does. You want to talk full registration to lead to confiscation? Show me a bad guy that's going to register his handgun. I mean, these are the arguments that we have to face every day. These guys will not rest until they have reduced us to slingshots and sharp sticks.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, Rick, we're coming up on a break here. I want to give you a chance to, plug your website and your business and whatnot. So, what do you got going on in Detroit?
And to say thank you for
Detroit. I can be reached a couple of different ways. I like to tell people if you want to find me, Google me, Rick RICK Ector ECTOR. You can find me on the internet at DetroitCCW.com. Also at LegallyArmedInDetroit.com. That's LegallyArmedInDetroit.com and DetroitCCW.com.
And also, Rick, we put you on our website under our guest link, and we got a little information about you and all of your different contacts on there. So if people want to go to At Odds, they can do that and go to our guest link.
Hey,
and
you know what?
There.
And I'd like to also extend to your guests. Hey, I got a fan page over on Facebook. Check it out, Rick's Firearm Academy Detroit on Facebook, and push that love button. It's labeled like. So when you press it, I can feel the love.
Love.
Feel the love.
All right. Hey, Rick, well, we really appreciate you being on the show. It was definitely a good time for us. So.
Hey, man, I definitely enjoyed the invitation, and if you ever need me again, let me know, and I'll be there.
Okay.
All right, sure thing. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Keep up the good fight.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And as we mentioned, you can contact Rick over on our website, at oddshow.com. You can head over to the guest page, and you'll have a link to Detroit CCW, and I believe his email address is up there also. While you're there, go ahead and click on the Audible ad over on the right-hand side. Sign up for a free 30-day trial for Audible, and when you sign up for that free trial, you get a free audiobook download. They have over 100,000 selections for your Kindle, your Android device, your iPhone, your iPad, your MP3 player, pretty much anything you have that can spew audio out. You can get an audiobook, and you get that free with your free 30-day trial. When you sign up, you can cancel at any time. It won't cost you anything if you cancel before the 30 days are up. Also, while I'm plugging things here, head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/atoddshow, and like us a little bit there. We're getting up there in the fan numbers, and we'd like to get a few more. We are going to head to break. We'll be right back with at least a few minutes. We have some more things to talk about here related to guns, and possibly we might even get off the gun topic for a minute, but it seems to be hot now, so we will be right back. All right, we are back. We want to thank you for sticking with us. We want to thank Rick once again. It was a great time having him on the call. We've been trying to get him on here a bit lately, but our schedules haven't lined up, and they finally did. So that was very good. Thanks again, Rick.
Yep, thank you, Rick. Check out his website again at www.detroitccw.com. Hey, Nate.
Yes, Brian.
Let me adjust my mic here. It's a little funky there.
Looks familiar.
I'm sure you have seen the infamous photograph of our commander-in-chief skeet shooting. Now, he said he's an avid. We shoot skeet a lot, or whatever he said. We
do skeet shooting.
Do your voice. We shoot.
Well, up at Camp David, we do skeet shooting all the time. This is what he said, and then he went on to say, "Well, I have guests, and they like to go up there and shoot skeet." And
that's it. Anyways, so some of the press people, they asked for, oh, really? Do you have any photographs? And the press secretary, I don't know,
He said, I've never seen a photo of it.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, a week later...
Right on cue.
Right
on cue on a Saturday when the press isn't working in full force like they are during the weekdays.
Right. Out comes this photograph of, I'm going to say suspicious photograph of our commander-in-chief shooting a beautiful, expensive $5,000 shotgun.
Very nice.
But there's a few things that people have noticed about the photograph. And one is the angle that he's aiming in. Generally, you shoot skeet, and the targets are at a higher angle. I'm not saying that they can't be.
I heard he was just so good that he waited as long as he possibly could
until just before it. Just before, yeah. Well, anyways, the other is a lot of times people shoot skeet. They have vests on, and they have big pockets, or they have pouches where they have their shells, and they can take their empties and all that. Didn't have any of that. He looked a little awkward holding the gun, and there's no recoil, it looks like. I don't know. It's just...
my initial impression was not that it was photoshopped or faked.
Okay.
My initial impression was that he was posed for this, because I don't think he did look that awkward holding it, really.
Okay.
I mean, he was holding it left-handed, which is wrong, ever. To do anything left-handed,
I'm not
that's just
condemn
wrong.
a man for being left-handed. Even though the term for left-handedness is sinister.
For being as anti-gun as he is, I thought he looked decent holding the shotgun.
Well, he is an athlete.
He's a great basketball player. We've seen him throw baseballs.
Oh, God.
We have seen him throw baseballs, and obviously he can do that. I mean, he remembers to let go of it at least, so that's good.
Yeah, not everybody does that.
That's true. I've forgotten a couple times.
What was that mayor of... I don't know. Well, anyways, that was terrible.
I don't think Obama is a good athlete.
He was trying to throw to the catcher. I think the first baseman caught it. But, I mean, you got to let go of the ball.
The mayor, not Obama.
No.
Obama almost hit himself in the foot because he couldn't throw that far. But I do think
we kid because we love.
And it's true, but I do think it was probably posed. I don't know if he was shooting skeet or not. I mean, we can't. How can we not believe him other than he lies about everything else in his life? Every single point of his life is a lie.
The opinions expressed on At Odds
are mine. They are mine. I'm Nate, and they're my opinions.
Mine or the show's.
And also fact.
Hand of God.
I don't think he shoots skeet. I don't think he does skeet.
I think he may have tried it once or twice. If somebody were out there and they said, "Hey, give it a try," he may have shot.
I think what happened is in August on his birthday, they said, "Hey, Mr. President, you're going to be pushing gun control after you're elected, so we need a picture of you with a gun, and it's a nice day out."
Actually, they looked at what he was. He was playing golf that day, and he didn't get to Camp David until late in the afternoon. to have dinner with his wife. So
Yeah, and
there's
then,
some question
and then
about.
he immediately went out to shoot skeet.
Yeah, okay. And he was wearing different clothes. Not that you can't change clothes. So, anyways, there's
Now, I also saw a picture of him shooting
question.
a squirt gun. It was the same pose.
I saw him
but he was
shooting a
holding
drone.
Super soaker.
Yeah.
A droid? A
drone?
drone?
A drawing? Wow.
I saw him.
A drawing. What's a drawing? It's about to, it's right across from that country you're talking about.
I think more likely he wasn't shooting at skeet. He was actually shooting at the Constitution, and not a copy of the Constitution.
The original?
The original Constitution.
I don't know.
Luckily, he's not a good shot, so he missed.
I don't know.
It's still 100 feet underground or whatever it is, but
Anyways, there's
I don't know.
There's some questions about that.
I think it probably is a real
it's-
photograph.
It's just a little too
I just think it was posed.
convenient.
Yeah.
Well, there's some
Yeah.
people are saying like, all right, Mr. President, you just hold the gun like this. Yeah, that's it. Hurry up! I don't like this. We're just gonna take the picture.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how that happened. But I mean, why wouldn't he have released that at any other point? I mean, it was
Yeah.
a professional photograph. You could tell.
Yeah.
Why not put it out there and say, "Hey, I'm enjoying this camp that the taxpayers pay for."
Right, which apparently he doesn't really like that much. But anyways,
No golf courses.
it's the other thing was that they had their classic disclaimer there that you cannot modify or Photoshop or do anything or endorse any products using this photograph. And of
Challenge
course,
accepted and met.
oh
I
my
think.
goodness, there were thousands of photoshopped. He looks good in little pink polka dotted
he does.
underwear.
He does look good in
Yeah.
that, and it's surprising. But his legs.
He's got the legs for it, I think. Anyways,
People
wait a
did
minute,
make
I'm
a big
here
deal.
to knock on the door. It's the government.
People did make a big deal about that disclaimer, but I think they put that out on most photographs. I don't think it was a special, hey, don't mess with this picture thing. Now, David Plouffe, he was a former communications guy or whatever for the president.
Plouffe.
He,
You said Plouffe. That's funny.
he came out and said, hey, let the Photoshop conspiracies begin,
Mm-hmm.
and he pretty much challenged people to say that it wasn't a real picture, much like you're doing. So I guess you met his challenge.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
All right. Have we bashed Obama enough, or are you still got?
Nope,
some
we
more?
haven't.
Okay.
We haven't.
How about Feinstein? Can we bash her?
Do you want to?
Sure.
What do you want to say about her?
Well,
she hasn't done anything wrong ever.
We're
She's an expert on guns. We've proven that more than once.
She does know a thing or two about guns. She had a concealed pistol license and carried a gun.
Huh.
But now she's got this United States
But she didn't have a
government
sliding
protecting her.
stock.
Not a collapsible stock. Sliding stock that makes her.
She did not have one of those.
The word's out there that the assault weapon ban is pretty much dead on arrival. There's some talk that it's going to get out of committee so they can vote on it. And the scuttlebutt I heard today was that they want to kill it and probably take the assault weapon itself ban out so they can work on bigger and better things like mandatory background checks for all firearm sales, which I don't know how they're going to implement. And I don't know how they're going to pay for it. I don't know how they're going to control that. And do the magazine ban and other things. So, lots of game playing going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you have to do is not worry about the money that it would cost to do those things because they won't care about it.
No, we have plenty of money.
But gun registration would be the next step after you have mandatory universal background checks, which no criminal will ever submit to. So they're not universal. That's been pointed out by several people now. The only way to make universal background checks sort of feasible is to have universal gun registration. Universal gun registration leads to universal gun confiscation. And universal gun confiscation leads directly to universal termination of people who disagree with what you think.
That would never happen in the United States.
Well, no, not in the United States. No,
it happens in all
would
those
only happen-
others. All
right.
those other countries,
Yeah.
eventually will happen, but not in the United States. Come on, we're civilized.
We've never done anything like taking a bunch of Japanese people and rounded them up.
Or Indians, Native
Or
Americans,
Indians or anything like that.
Nothing like that.
So I'm not worried about it personally because, I mean, what do I have to worry about? This is America.
Yeah.
This is America.
And I don't have any guns anyway.
And the president and Dianne Finkelstein there, they keep claiming that they love the Second Amendment.
They do. They love it, but
So I believe them. I believe them. I mean,
why not? They're politicians.
Yeah, and they can't lie. Well, I saw it on the internet.
Oh, if it was on the internet, it's been verified.
It's true. It's completely true.
Oh, let's see. Anyway.
So, yeah, now I'm done bashing Obama, I think.
Really?
No.
Okay.
But I can be.
Until the next time. And speaking, Rick touched on this very briefly, and I kind of wanted to throw it in there, but I didn't get the chance. And he's talking about this, demonizing guns and this indoctrination and stuff. And a good example of this is the zero tolerance we have in public schools for any kind of gun.
Oh, it's absurd. We had the girl that was kicked out for saying she was going to shoot at another kid with a bubble gun, a gun that shot bubbles.
Yeah,
that she didn't even have with her, but it's a pink Barbie gun that shoots bubbles made out of soap.
People kicked out of school for pointing their finger at kids, chicken legs at kids. There was a girl that was a champion shooter in high school, wanted to have her picture in the yearbook of her holding her firearm, that she uses in competition, and the school, wasn't going to let her do it. The latest, was this kid in Arizona, of all places, was suspended for displaying a photo of a gun on his background of his computer.
And it was a school issue computer, I believe.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't matter.
But here's the rule he broke, right?
Students are not allowed to send or display offensive messages or pictures, and they cannot access, send, create, or forward pictures that are considered harassing, threatening, or illegal.
Oh, well,
so Nate, why
are we even discussing this?
Yeah, I don't know. They should have just taken the kid out and back and executed. Oh, wait, that's Obama's white papers that are coming out.
Yeah, actually, that would be allowed if he
was a terrorist.
Maybe
he could have been a major leader in the Al Qaeda,
or had some association with an associated group,
and that we're thinking, or may not be,
maybe not even be thinking about attacking the United States,
or they might,
or maybe they were,
or you never know. But they don't. We don't need to know.
But then we
can execute.
Then we can kill them with the drone. We cannot waterboard people or torture enemies, people who have killed Americans.
But we can kill our own
because
citizens.
Torture is bad.
Based on very shaky. And that could be another whole show. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Those documents just came out. We're talking about the drone white papers that got leaked out about the rules of.
If by leaked you mean the White House gave them to NBC News,
something like that.
Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
These leaks.
Yeah.
If Fox News got it, it may actually be a legitimate leak that somehow wasn't supposed to happen. NBC News got these documents because they were given these documents. There's no question about that.
I don't want to go into that. I still want to talk about this poor kid. I want to know what was offensive or harassing or threatening or illegal about posting a picture of a firearm on his screensaver.
Well, what did the school say? Nothing. And I'm sure the school's not going to be able to comment about it because it's a private case with the student and the student's parents. And I do understand that point, except this shouldn't be an issue at all.
Well, Dana Harmon, who's the spokesperson for the Florence Unified School District, said, although we cannot specifically discuss student discipline, we can certainly agree that violence in schools is a sensitive and timely issue, and that students, parents, and staff are on edge, and the daily news delivers more reasons for caution. All of us must work together to protect our kids and to cultivate an environment that is conducive to learning. End of quote. Now, did that address anything about anything?
I'm glad you said end of quote because I wouldn't have known when you were done.
Oh, because I sound like that all the time?
Yeah.
Whiny
I thought you were just whiny about something, but of course they're not going to address anything. And
son of a bitch!
God forbid a school actually teach something positive about a gun in the first place. I mean, she talks about being conducive to learning. Maybe take the picture, put it up on a projector, and teach the kids what it is and what it could be used for. I mean, it's absurd, and that's definitely not an isolated case. That's what's really bad about it.
All the time, every day in all schools. I remember in my daughter's school in the Midwest, in the central part of the state of Michigan,
In Comoros.
in a farming hunting community, not in an urban, very small school. And they didn't suspend, which I thank them for, but they were given a student crap because his dad had cut off the end of an arrow and that had the fletching on it. So it didn't have the point, but he cut it like about 6 inches, and he put a pen up inside so the kid had a pen that would write in school, but it had the little three little feathers.
From an arrow. Sure.
And, that's a weapon. Well, what's the weapon? The pen?
No, the feathers.
Feathers. I
you
guess
could tickle somebody.
You could tickle them to death.
Holy cow!
I'll tickle you to death. Oh no, you won't. Oh no, you're getting suspended. But
it used to be kids kissing other kids that got them suspended, but now I'm sure it's still that. But now it's having a finger and pointing it at somebody and saying "bang." You're out of there.
Or the kid that was
there's no room for that,
playing army or something and pretended like he was throwing a grenade that got suspended. That I heard about that today.
Oh, jeez, that's absurd. But grenades are illegal.
I know they are. Well, not for the military and the police, but anyways,
they're trained.
The father says he sort of disagrees, and apparently the father was able to convince the school officials to shorten the suspension, which was to be 3 days. So I don't know. They do it to 2 days, 1 day. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they should just not do it and apologize to the kid. That might be the right approach.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they can admit to being wrong.
No, and they don't think they were wrong. So, I mean, that's the problem. Like I said, I know a school that's requiring parents to submit to background checks just to be in the school. Because Sandy Hook. I mean, that's the reasoning. It's there was a shooting in Connecticut by a former student who probably didn't go through a background check to be in the school, and so if we have background checks, that wouldn't happen. Never mind the locked doors and the stolen guns and the broken window and all of that.
What is it? The stupidity, it burns.
Yeah.
Anyways, two of your favorite people are in the news. Friday is Hillary Clinton's last day as Secretary of State. And your second favorite person is...
This Friday?
Yep, this coming Friday, I think. Wasn't it?
I thought it was last Friday.
Oh, maybe it was last Friday.
Pretty sure.
I'm behind the times.
Because
That's right, because John Kerry was already out there schmoozing all the people.
I think Saturday, was it Saturday, whatever, was the first time in like a bajillion years that a Bush or a Clinton haven't been in office there. Like, haven't been in some
Wow. That's sad.
I mean, that's probably back to 84, 82, 84, I think.
You want to change guns?
I'm bad at dates.
Topic, or do you want to stay on it? Because I can.
No, let's change the topic.
Really? Oh.
You heard me because you were sitting here the entire time.
What was
but
that?
I promised the listeners that we would move off of the gun topic a little bit.
I don't listen to you.
I know you were.
Well, let's get on.
Let's
get onto a non-controversial topic at all, because we're waiting.
Religion, abortion. Which one are you going with?
Homosexuality and Boy Scouts.
Okay, this is a good one.
Tomorrow, the Boy Scouts of America, the national organization, is going to come out and make their announcement on whether they will allow gays to be Boy Scouts. And I don't know about leaders, but anyways.
Well, and
we're waiting, and there's all. Well, go ahead. There's all kinds of controversy.
I was just going to say, you and I covered the story of the.
We did, but
I think the 17-year-old boy who
we were ahead
right
of
before
it.
he was right before he became an Eagle Scout.
Oh, he became an Eagle Scout. They stripped him of it.
Whatever it was, he for some reason
after he became it, he announced
for
that
some
he was
reason
gay.
Decided to take a stand and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm gay." And the Boy Scouts. I don't know what word I want to use. I was thinking rightfully, but that's not exactly what I mean.
What?
They took away his. I mean, he didn't meet their criteria, so they took away what he would have earned if he hadn't come out and made this stand that he made.
That he was gay.
That he was gay. I'm not saying I agree with them 100% on it, but I think they have the right to run their organization however they want. And I think you agree with that.
I do, as long as they don't accept any kind of public fund or get any kind of free free rent in public buildings like they do in schools and things like that. As long as they have to pay rent or fees to federal or to public buildings and they don't get any kind of public funds to support them, then they have the right to do that. But once they start getting into the public dollar, I have a problem with that.
And I don't know. I mean, that's interesting because you support funding other things with public money that I definitely wouldn't. Yeah, completely.
But this is a thing about a private organization. They have certain rights, and what do I want to say? I don't know.
I agree that they probably shouldn't be getting any public funding because they are a private organization.
Right.
They need to and can make it on their own. I mean, They get plenty of donations. Their fundraisers are just crazy. They make some money.
Although apparently they're losing corporate sponsors for both reasons. Some because they don't allow gays, and some because they may allow gays. Although we won't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, and this is some of the problem I have with this is the only reason that they're coming out and having to do this is pressure from the media, from the left, and from some of their sponsors who want to take a stand on some of those things. I mean, I seriously doubt they have Starbucks donating money to them, but and I don't really know who some of their sponsors are, but
was it Starbucks?
Was Starbucks one of them? Because if it was Starbucks, I would think that
UPS was a big one. There's some big companies that were giving them money.
And there's just a lot of pressure from government and media to start being tolerant and accept some of these sometimes very intolerant groups, into your organization, and people are bowing to that, and I kind of think that's where the Boy Scouts are coming from. Maybe they won't. I have no insight into that. I hope they stand for what they believe in and do what they want.
I think what they'll do, and this has been suggested, and it's like many corporations do in regards to gun rights, is they say, well, we follow all state laws, and we'll allow gays in here, but we're going to leave it up to each individual troop and council or state or whatever. They'll cop out that way. So they'll say, yeah, we support or we allow gays, but we're going to leave it up to every community's scout troops to determine whether they want to let gays in or not.
Well,
I think that's what they'll end up doing.
I don't know if that would be a great approach for them because
I've never been wrong about anything in my life, so I know.
No, I'm not saying that they won't do that, but that's going to put a lot of pressure on the local individual den leaders and group leaders and things like that. And that
the thing
that's
is,
really not fair.
But some states and some areas are much more tolerant in that regard than others. Some are much more conservative, so it will leave it up
if you
to
have a Boy Scout group in San Francisco or something, then they're going to be a bit more, I'm going to use the word tolerant, but I don't mean tolerant necessarily. But the community there might be a bit more conducive to having gays in the Boy Scouts. You have somewhere in, I don't know, Alabama, maybe, and maybe not so much.
Why did you say Alabama?
Because Alabama is the most conservative state in the United States.
Is it really?
Yeah, I saw the top 10 liberal and top 10 conservative states.
Where was...
Do you want to guess the top 10 or the number one liberal state and state?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Do I want to guess it?
Yeah, go ahead and guess it.
The most liberal state.
Yep. And this was based on a Gallup poll, which, Gallup.
It was on the East Coast?
It was on the East Coast, and I did quotes when I said state because it's
not a state?
Well,
you can't. Washington, D.C. is not a state.
Well, that was it. That's
it can't be. I'd take it out. What's number two then?
I don't remember what number two was.
Well, Washington, D.C. is not a state. So.
Yeah. Most conservative was Alabama. Now, Michigan, where we live here in Comoros, was not on either list, so that's good. What was interesting, though, is in the most conservative states like Alabama, more than 50% of the respondents were identified themselves as conservative. In Washington, D.C., it was like 47% identified themselves as liberal, but less than half. In the states that weren't most conservative, most liberal,
so it's pretty
there was
close.
still a higher percentage of conservatives in most of those states than people who identified as liberal.
I thought you were going to say it's like 96% conservative in Alabama, but
Well, no, I mean,
you know,
the choices weren't conservative or liberal.
South always tended
They
to
were
be
conservative.
very democratic.
I mean, it was a sliding scale, so it wasn't on or off like you seem to think right and wrong.
Very
and white.
black and white. Very,
yeah,
very, very
it wasn't
black and
like
white.
that. I mean, you could actually respond how you really felt and not just have to be lumped in with conservatives or lumped in with liberals. So it was weighted. It was weighted, but it was an interesting poll that I found.
Well, you know, and we discussed this in our other show, and you can go and look at our previous episode, and it's on there about Boy Scouts, is what I'm saying. And my argument was that, you know, the federal government does get in and they do protect certain classes of people, and generally it's because, you know, they can't change certain things. So it's sex. Although you can change that now.
Yeah,
but,
now you can.
Color, which Michael Jackson showed that you can change that. But
You're not making very strong cases.
I'm not making it, and I did this last time. But my point is, you know, well, you can't help it if you're black. You can't help it if you're gay. Not gay. You can't help it if you're disabled. You know, you can't
Or
help
a woman.
it.
I mean, in general,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But you can help it if you're gay. That is a choice, and I think, you know, science and research is showing that that's less and less the case. Because I can't imagine a lot of people would say, you know what, I want to be gay. That's my choice because I want to be discriminated against. I want to be hated and despised and all this crap. It also goes back to religion,
Because nobody would ever carry an AR-15 in public just to make the point.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Oh, jeez. But yeah, I mean, my point was it's a private organization. They do what they want. I'm completely okay with that.
But I'm saying that the Boy Scouts, if they came out and they said, all right, we're not going to have any blacks, the federal government would stand in and they would go,
yeah, you can't
You
do
can't
that.
do
You
that.
can't do that. Exactly right.
because black's not a choice.
Yep.
You know, being gay is. And
Exactly
then there's
right.
the whole religious aspect of it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it is they are generally religious group. They're not very religious, and some of the troops that I have seen actually, when they get to the religious portions, the kids have to go home and do earn those badges with their family.
That seems odd because the Boy Scouts have come out and said they're a Christian organization.
They have religious foundings. I don't know if they come out and said they are a Christian organization.
I think so.
I'm not
or,
sure.
Well,
about that.
religious. All right,
Yeah, okay.
you're right,
and that's
yeah,
different. And so they do accept all religions. You
Yeah.
do at least
You got to believe in a God.
the local
somewhere.
group that I know of. You do the religious
I wonder
activities
if that's
at
local
home.
or if that's a national.
And
thing.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, your buddy, the president, said that he encourages the Boy Scouts to not ban gay members. That his attitude is that gays and lesbians should have access and opportunities the same way everyone else does in every institution and walk of life.
Yeah, and he is first of all a communist, and second of all our first gay president. So
The Scouts
that
are a
makes
great
sense.
institution, he said, that are promoting young people and exposing them to, opportunities and leadership that will serve people for the rest of their lives. And I think that nobody should be barred from that. That's what he said.
I'd like to see the president shoot skeet and start a campfire.
Yeehaw.
I think it would be fun to see him do that in his little polka dot underwear that I saw in the official White House photograph. So, I think we are going to head to another commercial break, and we will be back with a few more topics anyway.
Couple things maybe.
We want to remind you to head over to @oddshow.com. Click on the Audible ad over on the right and sign up for a free 30-day trial and get your free audiobook download. Also, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/@oddshow. We will be right back.
Play it a little longer after that.
All right, we want to welcome you back to At Odds. Hopefully you found our Facebook page over at facebook.com/@oddshow. You're clicking like. I see I got a new email. Maybe it is a new like on Facebook.
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
I want you to like it as much as Rick Ector loves his people that like him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good point. You click the like button, and we feel the love also.
We do.
I'm going to steal his technique there. And
You can't steal that from him. That's not fair.
I stole it. I did.
we're almost wrapping up. We got a few more minutes here, but no, we can go another 5-10 minutes. Easily.
No. That was,
Okay, I thought you had a
Sorry.
discerning look on your face, like, what the hell are you talking about?
No, I was stretching.
Oh, see, it looks very, very like, oh, never mind. Monkey hanging wallpaper comes to mind, but
Yeah, something like that.
Governor Cuomo's falls in approval. University poll released last Wednesday that he was loved by 74% job approval rating. Can you believe that? The highest of any governor in the country. Cuomo. Yeah,
Really?
New York.
All right.
But after his gun proposal, it fell to only 59%.
No way. How is that possible? Because the majority of Americans...
Every American wants gun control.
You're right. Every single American wants gun control, and that's what we're hearing. So I'm not sure how a governor...
You seem it would go to like 90%. It should have gone.
It should have went up, and it didn't go up, is what you're saying.
No, it went down quite a bit.
And I don't understand it. There must be a flaw in the poll.
He said he expected to his approval rating to go down a little bit. I think he was probably surprised by how much.
Yeah.
Lots of rumblings coming out of
not.
New York that they're not, the gun owners are not really going to try to abide by all of his.
Yeah, I've seen more than
crap.
one poll, and the great majority of New Yorkers do not enjoy the new gun regulations that they have coming.
Well, and with good reason. The Michigan governor, Rick Schneider, your buddy, big pro-gun person.
Is he a big pro-gun person?
I don't think so.
I mean,
No, I don't think
He's one tough nerd, though.
He
He's
didn't-
really one tough nerd. I'm really a tough nerd.
he didn't take my question at the town hall while we were there.
No,
he didn't take my question
I noticed that.
about gun rights, but he
nor
did.
Nor has he gotten back with us.
Nor
like-
has
like
he,
his staff
he-
said he
like
was.
they said they would.
Yeah.
But he did talk an awful lot about raising our taxes. I mean, obviously we could pay a little more when we get gas to put gas in our car.
It's a small
and
price
every
of
year
it.
on your
And it's
birthday, you
for
can,
the greater
you can pay
good.
some more. You could pay some more in your registration fees, and it's for the greater good. I mean, who likes the roads in Michigan? And do you know how many lives we can save?
I do. I love the
I
roads.
was tempted, but taking a play out of Mr. Obama's playbook, if we could save just one life, we have an obligation to try.
I don't know if I.
Do you know how many children are lost in potholes on Michigan roads every year?
Those are preventable deaths.
Preventable deaths if we just paid more when we get gas. Just raise taxes.
Such
Anyway,
sauce.
Governor Snyder. That's not what you wanted to talk about. But
Ah, he's supporting
that
the
was
efforts to pass comprehensive overhaul of federal immigration laws. And
I'm one tough nerd, and I say, and he says, I'm pleased to see that the president and a bipartisan group of congressional leaders are moving forward on this issue, focusing on areas of agreement to reform U.S. immigration policy in a comprehensive manner. I'm looking forward to working with the president, Congress, and my fellow governors to see that legislation is enacted this year to ensure our borders are secure and that employers have an adequate system by which to verify employees are in the country legally, and that there is a tough but fair path to citizenship for qualified undocumented immigrants, which would include background checks, restitution, and other steps. Restitution?
Restitution.
Restitution?
I'm gonna tell you something, Brian.
Okay.
We have enough damn Canadians here illegally.
oh, I hate those Canadians.
I know. We have enough of them here illegally. We don't need more.
Ooh, I better not say that. I've got some Canadian friends.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I don't. I don't.
You,
I don't have any American friends.
You don't
either.
have any friends. I mean,
Comarosian friends? Tons of Comarosian friends.
Well, we're
I
making
just
them
made
now.
We're making them now, and
know.
it's great because they can't
and
understand what
it's
I'm
like
saying.
in a universal language, though. We can communicate with these people without having to
I
speak
say
the
hello,
language.
they throw a rock, bam, friends.
I say hello, you say goodbye. That'd be a good lyric
Hello,
for
hello.
a song.
It would. We should write that one.
Anyways.
This whole immigration thing, though, we have a bunch of less than awesome people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham supporting this. The efforts to pass comprehensive immigration reform. Which, by the way, I heard today that they are not illegal immigrants; they are without status or out of status. So stop calling them illegal; they're just out of status people.
Good Lord.
Well, it's racist to call them illegal immigrants because they're illegal immigrants and you don't want to offend them. But Marco Rubio is...
So criminals aren't criminals anymore? They're just out of legality?
Yep.
Or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Marco Rubio is one of the better sort of Tea Party conservatives that is pushing for this. Not a huge surprise. I do want to get into some of that immigration there. First, I want to take a call real quick. Thanks for calling At Odds. What's on your mind?
Are you guys talking about immigration still?
Oh, we are.
We are. Have at her.
You have any thoughts on that?
Comprehensive immigration reform?
Yes.
Comprehensive.
We were just getting into Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham and John McCain, all the good conservative Republicans that are pushing for it.
Oh, it's nice to hear them say that they're trying to do something, in a bipartisan way. But what good does that do if Obama, violates the Constitution and just writes an executive order to break the law and tell the federal government not to do nothing? Even if they were to pass a great immigration reform bill or whatever, and he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to do anything about it. He can just go ahead and violate the federal laws some more.
Yeah, and he's already signed an executive order, for amnesty for the illegals that were here, and that might be what you're referring to. But
that and what he may do in the future. He hasn't stopped doing it from the time he became president.
Yeah, exactly.
And learned he had power.
We can expect many more, I'm sure. I mean, we had all the ones on gun regulations and mental health and whatnot, and I'm sure he'll come across with some immigration reform.
Well, remember, they're not illegal immigrants. They're without status.
And they come out with the fact they're dropping drones, and now we got NBC idea of the assessment that Napolitano put out for the DHS. It's all the same thing. Illegal president.
Well, what should we do? What should we do about the illegal immigrants? I mean, those without status. Let's say that.
Those without status.
That's the politically correct term now.
Huh?
That's the politically correct term.
Oh, that's right.
So what?
I forget about that. I can't keep track of all of those things.
Yeah, it's tough.
All right, Jeff. What would you do now if you were in charge? How would you handle the immigration?
Well, put up a nice big giant fence first.
Okay, that's expensive. How are you going to pay for that?
Oh, that's okay. Well,
okay.
We'll borrow the money from China and do it.
It's perfect. At least 60% of it.
Like we do everything else.
Or we could save some of the money by not giving benefits to the people who are here illegally, and we could use that to build a fence.
Oh, that would probably pay for the whole doggone thing.
Yeah, we could build one.
But then we got to find out who they are and make sure they don't get the money.
Okay,
yeah, exactly.
So does the fence work? Are we going to turn into the Berlin there and divide the country there? Or are we going to look at North Korea?
We'll just build a couple more entrances.
Okay, and then what? They're already climbing over the fences.
Coming in, limit the people going out. When I heard about the bridge down there in Texas, that people, going to Mexico or coming in, they're just driving at speed and going through, and no stops or anything like that.
Right.
They don't. When they go to Canada, they don't stop anybody. But then we don't worry about Canada all that much.
Not that much.
I mean, down there in Mexico, we're worried about that. That's where it's all coming from.
All right, so
if we put our border back in the middle of nowhere where the fence is built, 30, 40 feet high, I mean, it doesn't have to be an expensive fence. Just high enough to give us a chance to keep an eye on.
Slow them down at least.
Listen, my dog gets out of my fenced yard all the time. The fences aren't going to stop people. We don't have enough people. We'd have to put a Border Patrol agent every 100 yards.
Yeah.
That'd be cheaper than the fence, maybe. I don't know.
Well, put the fence up there. That way we can have them every 200 yards.
Oh, I see.
or at least, within an eyesight or something like that.
Why don't we just fly it with drones and just shoot them as they're coming across the border?
Yeah, we have drones.
That's the easy part.
Oh, okay.
That's the easy thing. We can't do nothing easy.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what we'll end up doing is nothing and giving everyone who's here already amnesty and
citizenship,
making it easier for illegals to come over here and get benefits is what will happen. You talked about the bipartisan approach. I mean, that always leads to compromise, which always is do what the Democrats want and thank you for compromising, Republicans.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the way it is now, yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, hopefully Marco Rubio gave his word that he would not support an immigration reform bill unless it started with securing the border.
Exactly. What does securing the border mean? Are we going to use drones? Are we going to use our high-tech fence? That doesn't work. That costs billions and billions of dollars. You could hire me, and I'd go stand down there and cover my quarter of a mile.
Would you be willing to do that?
Well, as long as I had everything I needed.
We can only pay $100,000 a year to do that.
Hell, that's twice as much as I made at General Motors when I was working.
There you go, and benefits and a retirement.
Hey,
but
I'm ready to go now.
You're going to have to learn Spanish, though.
Oh, that's okay. I got Spanish for Dummies. I can start working on that.
All right.
Nice. All right, Jeff. Well, hey, thanks for calling.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. So thanks, Jeff. Call back again next week. Take care of yourself.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. He made a good point when he talked about the bipartisan, and like I said, it starts out as a bipartisan effort, but it always, always, always turns into do what the liberals want. Compromise is never let's meet in the middle or meet somewhere that actually makes sense.
I don't know if that's always true.
It's always those on the right need to move to the left because they're crazy and they don't care about people. Now, my real issue with this is it's coming up because the GOP thinks that they need to make policy changes to get votes from.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
They think they needed to get votes from minorities. I completely disagree with that. I don't think it's a policy issue. We've had this whole amnesty discussion before. Ronald Reagan did it. It didn't garner any more votes for Bush. He actually got a smaller percentage of the Latino vote than Reagan did 4 years before this. It hasn't worked in the past. I don't think it'll work now. The GOP needs to get rid of all the people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain who really don't belong in the Republican Party. In Bloomberg, right? Geraldo Rivera, did you hear that? He might run for Senate.
Oh, geez.
Wow. Yeah. As a Republican, which blew my mind. We need to get rid of
Arnold
some of these people.
Yeah, and Governor Snyder are Republicans.
Well, Arnold started out okay, but he was in California. I mean, what's he going to do?
Yeah,
you can't survive there.
I don't know if he was as conservative as...
No, I didn't say conservative. I said okay, much like George Bush started out okay. I mean, tolerable. Snyder is tolerable on some things. He's not conservative, I don't think. But I don't think that we need to support amnesty to get votes. I don't think it will work. I've said it 1,000 times. It's
just tonight.
It's a welfare thing.
Oh yeah.
It's gifts. It's handouts.
I know.
That's why people vote for Democrats. Is because it's easy, much easier than voting for a conservative Republican who says, "Hey, we'll open up the road for you to work hard and make it on your own," rather than the Democrats saying, "Hey, we'll give you this." And that's the end.
That's like the article I was reading today, too, about that Obama isn't even going to pander to the middle of the road, left-leaning Republicans, trying to cater to that vote anymore because the Democrats and the people that are getting the welfare that are voting are such, becoming such a voting bloc that they don't even have to court those people anymore.
Absolutely.
And it's growing every day. As they have children and they have children and they have children and they have children, it's...
But that will lead to the demise of this country. I mean,
certainly because
the IRS came out and said that with Obamacare in like 2016 or whatever, the lowest level bronze plan will average like $20,000 for a family of 5.
Yeah,
$20,000.
which is what private insurance just about costs anyways for a family of 5.
Nah,
Somewhere
I don't think so.
Yeah, it is.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Let me tell you what my insurance is for a family of
Okay.
3,
Yep.
and that's $18,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. For a low level plan? Which plan do you
No,
have?
that's not the
That's
lowest.
what we're talking about. That's the
I got a
lowest
pretty
plan
good plan
available.
Yeah, that's true. That's a point. But still, you would think, and maybe that's because the IRS are basing it on private prices, that if everybody's contributing to a national, what am I saying?
Well, what happens is you start out and you have these really expensive plans, but it's much cheaper to just pay the tax penalty.
Yeah, and that's
So everybody will pay that and will get out of the private sector. They won't buy private insurance plans anymore.
Right.
So the private insurance will just be shoved to the side.
Yep.
They won't be able to survive. And then when people do decide that they need health care, like when the tax penalty is equal to the amount of a plan, because the tax penalty increases gradually.
Where are they
And
going to
now
go?
it's a $20,000 penalty. Oh, now we have to go to these exchanges and get it from the government.
Yeah.
And now we have single-payer health care, which doesn't work, which means Grandma and Grandpa aren't going to get their kidney
Meds.
transplant
Yeah.
because they don't need to.
or their knee surgery.
In President Barack Hussein Obama's own words, at some point, maybe it's better to just give Grandma a pain pill and say, she's had a good life, but is it really, we have to look at, is it really worth the money and the effort?
Cost
and
effective.
To keep Grandma alive, or should we just give her a pain pill? And then we have these, like the Liverpool pathway things that they have overseas where, well, Grandma's not doing too well, so let's just take her food and water away and just kind of let her shrivel up, and, it's cheaper that way.
Let nature take its course.
We'll call it a care pathway, but it's not. It's the opposite of care.
Nate, you're scaring me.
Am I by telling you the truth?
I don't like the
It's
truth.
happening. It's happening in other countries that have similar systems, and it's going to happen here. It has to. You can't have a nationalized health care and not somehow cut costs, because we just can't afford it. We can't afford Social Security. We can't afford Medicare. We can't afford Medicaid. How are we going to afford this giant monstrosity?
Everybody's going to pay.
Nobody has jobs.
Oh, wait a minute. Because
Nobody's working. Unemployment is still high.
If people work over 30 hours, you have to get them health care, and so businesses are cutting people's hours.
So they're cutting people.
Huh.
Our economy contracted the last quarter of last year. I mean,
That's
we're
not what
not
I'm
growing.
hearing.
We're
I'm
not
saying,
getting more jobs.
I heard unemployment is down.
Unemployment ticked back up just recently.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's at like 7.9% artificially.
I don't know.
And that's because I've went over this before.
I know.
That's based on the number of people looking for jobs, and people aren't looking for jobs anymore. They drop out of this segment of society that are unemployed but are looking for jobs, and so then they're no longer counted in that 7.9%.
We don't have to worry about them.
No, don't count them. And hey, look, unemployment went down because there's a smaller pool, smaller workforce. So yay for us, woohoo!
Yep.
And everything gets more and more and more expensive.
Socialism works great until you run out of the other.
But don't
guy's
worry,
money.
eventually we'll be turning our gold into the government, and just
that will never happen. That has never happened in the history of the United States.
No, it hasn't.
How dare you say that any president with an executive order would demand people to turn in their gold under penalty of law?
But Democrats never done it.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, one did. I remember now.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
You remember that?
I wasn't.
Did you turn in your gold?
I didn't, because mine had intrinsic value.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that was FDR, right? He signed that executive order and said, you turn this in or you're going to go to jail for 10 years or pay like a $10,000 fine.
Yeah, and people did it. They turned in their gold.
Well, what are you going to do? It's the government. I mean, that really is a scary thing.
Yep. And it happened.
It's a scary thing. I mean, when the government tells you to do something, pretty much you do it. I mean, most people have no other choice, and most people are law-abiding people by nature, and
they
they're
trust
just
their
going
government.
to do it.
And they trust their government, and
all right. Well, anything else you want me to rant about, or is it pretty good?
I just want to go cry in a corner now.
That's my outlook for this country in the next 10 years.
I just want to cry in the corner.
All right. Well, I do think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here. I want to remind you to head over to @oddshow.com. Go ahead and click. Brian, you could do this right now. Go ahead and click on the click on the Audible ad over on the right side and sign up for your free 30-day trial. Get a free audiobook download.
Absolutely.
For your Kindle, your iPhone, your iPad, your iPod, whatever you have.
Like us, love us on Facebook. Check out the website.
Facebook.com/@oddshow. The website is @oddshow.com. I already said that. And we want to thank Rick Ector for being on again.
And our callers, and especially Jeff. He's called in.
DetroitCCW.com.
He's always got something interesting to say. He's enjoyable and insightful. I don't really have anything else.
All right. Well,
I like I said, I think I'm just
gonna go cry in the corner.
Cry because now I'm so depressed about everything.
You've got a week to cry, and then we'll be back at it next week at 7:30.
I don't think I can do it. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We hope you had a good time.
Oh boy! All right, he's not going to make it, but I want to thank you for listening to At Odds.
Bye bye.